No, you don't want me to tell you everything I
No.
remember.
What do you remember? But make
Mark's
sure.
not here. The objective of construction is to enhance the built environment, make life easier and better for everyone. Start to think about construction and the development of capital assets as worthy of cabinet positions. I'm a true advocate. Construction is manufacturing. Construction should be thought of as manufacturing.
A lot of people are talking about AI.
Yes, it
Or
would
do you think
diminish the
there'll be
labor
more
force
of
in
the
that.
estimate?
Fine, let's go to a 30-hour work week, 32-hour work week. I'm all in favor of that.
Have any opinions or thoughts about any game-changing technology that you see?
Material science is a phenomenal kind of thing. So we have an opportunity for maybe our materials to be interactive, but just think about turning R&D into a profit center.
Right.
I'd love to see a course on imagination.
What would it include?
I think it would be driven by the students. So what's the outcome? I don't know exactly what the outcome is. Maybe the outcome is a company like yours. Glad to see it. You've been a success. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. And I lost my train of thought, which I always kind of do when I get asked about something.
I have a whole series of questions. I don't even know what page I'm supposed to be at. So go ahead. Keep talking. Hello, welcome to The Build Up, a podcast by Procon Consulting, where we explore latest trends, innovation, and challenges facing the world of construction. I'm your host, Q Jung. If you've noticed, we're not here in our recording studio. In fact, we're here at the Procon Innovation Center at the Myers-Lawson School of Construction at my alma mater, Virginia Tech. I'm super excited to speak with Professor Tom Mills, who you've been extremely instrumental in the founding of Procon Consulting. You've been a driving force in the construction education and research for 31 years, recently retired. Extremely honored to be part of your retirement ceremony this past year. You really have influenced the way people talk about technology, construction safety, and construction management in our industry. You've impacted many of the students that have come through here for the 31 years you've been teaching here, and industry alike. So I'm super excited to dive into your journey and to really explore how you got into construction, from industry to teaching to research. And I know we both have a passion for technology. So without further ado, I just want to welcome you to The Build Up. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Q. Thank you.
This is kind of exciting, right? Like for us to be here. I mean, we were just talking earlier. When I first met you, you were a professor at building construction down at Burris Hall. And for us to be here now at this new HIT Hall and this amazing innovation center, it's quite the accomplishment. And I don't know how you feel about that.
It's a big transformation. That's absolutely for sure. We were in the back of Burris Hall with maybe 6 spaces and maybe 2,000 square feet in one classroom, and now we're at 150,000 square feet.
Right.
Lots of classrooms, lots of people, lots of faculty. From the 4 faculty to I think there's over 22 faculty right now. So quite a growth.
1993, right?
Yes, that's when I started.
I was a sophomore. What was the building construction faculty like? I know it was small, but I don't know if you recall the number of students. You said 4 faculty members.
When I started, we were 4 faculty, 1 assistant to administrative assistant. Mm-hmm. We did everything. We taught the courses. We advised the students. We did research. We did outreach. It was pretty small. It's pretty close-knit group, a small graduate student population, and a small undergraduate student population. Right. I think our undergraduate student population may have been, I'll say, under 100, maybe 90. It's grown significantly. I think we're up in the neighborhood of 600 now. We've got a second degree program now that's a construction management and engineering program. 22 plus faculty.
You've added a new major recently.
A new major in safety, which I think that's a real step forward. And often I mention in class, who in here wants to make safety their career? Very few people even think about safety as a career in construction. But now we've got a degree, and we've got people who are seriously interested in safety, which hopefully we'll save lives. I'm sure it will save.
I hope that we can start a trend here at Virginia Tech, because I feel like this organization, this group here, we're the trendsetter. And you were every bit part of that, growing a small little department to where it is today. When you look back, what are some of the things that you feel good about, and just seeing how it's grown and all the people that you've impacted?
I have to talk about the students first. So I came from industry. And
From Arizona, right?
I came from Arizona. I came back to get a graduate degree.
Here?
Yeah, I got a graduate degree here in the building construction program, and I was going to do some international construction management.
But you were in architecture, right?
Yes, yes. I probably couldn't design my way out of a paper bag, but I could put a project together, and I could put people together, and I could have a successful project at the end. So I just happened to be last man standing in a search for faculty. Fortunate enough for that. I thought I had something to offer, and maybe I did. Maybe I did. So I started out with our projects were, 2 to 5 years or less. In academia, projects, 25 years? You're one of my projects.
You're right. We can talk more about the project that you and I worked on.
You're one of my projects.
Yes.
And,
hopefully I did well.
And so students, they don't necessarily reach that potential that you see in them for maybe 5 to 10 years. And so hopefully, and always looking forward to hearing back from students, hearing how successful they've been, hearing what they've done, how they've grown their families, how they've grown their careers. That's always what really drives me. In the classroom, it's the one-on-one engagement as much as I can get with the students that drives me with that passion. As you get larger, which we are now, we get classes of 80, 90. It's large classes are much, much more difficult to get that one-on-one engagement with the students. That kind of drives my passion in an academic sense.
So how do you maintain culture?
That's a tough one. The larger you grow, the more scattered it is. We step into somebody's office. Now we have to go into another building to talk to other people. Huh?
Yeah.
You have to work at it. You have to maintain the technical side. You have to maintain the academic side. You have to maintain the social side. And I think if you can help the students along to engage with each other, engage with that culture, which I think Bishop Favreau does real well with that large studio space we have on the 3rd floor. That was a fundamental design feature of that, so that the students would be able to build their camaraderie right there and build that culture. Small faculty and small student groups can grow that. It becomes fraternal to some extent.
Gotcha.
As you know, you see people you went to school with across the table. All our students see people across the table in negotiation meetings, in pre-bid meetings.
You'd be surprised how small the world is.
Pre-con meetings,
Yes.
huh? Guys you went to school with, huh? Your classmates,
Yes.
guys you were on a team with in school.
You
Now
interact with them.
Now they're either on your team,
It's like, be nice.
or a competitor, or an owner.
Yeah, that's correct. So let's talk a little bit about like the early years. You had said that you couldn't design your way out of a paper bag, so you switched. I mean, was that the motivation to go from design into construction?
I was always good at the construction side, the construction document side, and like a big puzzle, documenting a project. You put all the pieces and parts of the puzzle together.
Right.
And you write out you want all the pieces to fit geometrically, and then you design the shapes to make that work, and then you specify the appropriate pieces. And I was always good at that, putting that puzzle together. I was always good once the puzzle was put together to make sure the project stayed out of trouble, basically. That, if you had to walk in the margins of the contract, you kind of walked in the margins of the contract. I had an opportunity to pursue some international construction management, and so I wanted to hone my skills. So I came back to get a master's degree just to hone my skills in construction management. Just before I left the industry, I was a construction manager for Wells Fargo out in Arizona and Texas. And I liked that kind of work. And so when I came here, I got that master's degree in the back of Burris, same place you explored.
Mine.
And then they had a search. I thought I had some industry relevance that I could add. I had some academic perspective. The opportunity to think is something that academics have that not many other professions get. We get kind of paid to think at times, and being able to think is a luxury. It is a real luxury, and so I enjoyed that. I had an edge on the faculty we had in place. The other three faculty, I knew practice, I knew construction management, I knew technology, I knew innovations. Computers and email were just starting to be a relevant kind of consideration, and I knew all those.
I mean, you were there in the early years of building this program up. You're known also not as just a professor for the students, but you have a passion for research, technology. I know your work with safety is something that is important and central to you. What drove that passion inside you?
It's innate. As the older I get, the more I kind of realize and kind of recognize patterns I wish I'd have recognized decades ago. I'm a workaholic. Some people call it an achiever. I just like to do. I'm a learner. You mentioned something that I don't know about, and now that we have a computer in our pockets, I have to know about that, and I have to study that. I have to learn about that. So I have a passion to learn. And I have a passion to work. So those things drive and go together. Always kind of fascinated with building pieces and parts. I used to do some, when I was younger, frame carpentry, a little bit of cabinetry work. I did some steel erection, all of that in a hiatus between my first 2 years in the university and my final years as an undergraduate. I'm a 12-year undergraduate, a long journey. So I'm a slow learner, but I've been through all of those various trades. And I'm just sort of driven in those kind of areas. I see technology as opportunities. Academics in the academy, we're always behind and in front of industry. We're behind that our research projects may take 2 or 3 years to, one, get funded, and then pursue, collect the data, do some analysis of that data and issue reports. Well, that may take a 4-year project. And so industry has already been 4 years in it. They're gone. That thing we started with 4 years ago, it's ancient. It's really, truly ancient. So industry gets ahead of that in technology. The robotic dog, I tried to instill that in about, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And Hensel Phelps was one that kind of had said, oh, yeah, we got a dog out in California. We need to get you out there to take a look at that dog. Now I think we have a couple of dogs, and we've got a dog pound somewhere up here in the building now, which is truly good. And so those types of forward-looking considerations, virtual site visits. You and I worked on that.
Yeah, we can talk. We actually
decades ago, and you don't want me to tell you everything. I remember.
No. What do you remember? But
Mark's not here. I do remember them. They're young college kids. They dress like college kids. They act like college kids. They were college kids, and they were, I think, hopefully having a good time, hopefully learning some things. I actually have, and I should have brought this over. I have the work that you delivered. And then a lot of people deliver stuff in the old days in paper, right?
Did you put it on a plaque?
Copy. I've actually got your report in my file cabinet over there in Bishop Favreau Hall. I do not have Mark's report in my file cabinet.
That might have gone to the landfill.
I don't know. I might have misplaced his report. But these two guys that I put in a closet, a long and narrow closet. The thing I truly remember is both of them were self-directed. Truly were self-directed. I love self-directed people. I think the more we can work toward self-managed teams, if you thought about that, self-managed a crew that comes and knows what it needs to do, when it needs to do it, what has to be delivered, and then gets it done.
Right.
That's what we need to work toward developing. These guys were excellent at that. They dealt with a guy who just said, go do it, and wasn't always probably the best mentor in the world out there.
You were incredible.
But we're trying to strive to develop a process that didn't exist, trying to figure out how we can make these pieces and parts work so that, now you do FaceTime in the field, right? Well, here's a piece of work. Take a look at it. What do you think? Oh, can you pan over this way and take a look at that? those were the pieces and parts we were talking about. How do you make the distance between the job and the office shorter? How do you bring multiple parties in to solve a problem in real time as opposed to a giant email chain that people like me lose track of all the links in the chain, and 3/4 of them are nothing. Huh? So they did what they needed to do, generally.
I'm not sure if anything has really changed much, but do you still have that Cybernaut
No,
computer?
I don't have that Cybernaut. I surplused that. That was a Virginia Tech item, and you surplus those things.
How does that make you feel when you look back during the dot-com era where people were not using or didn't really have a complete understanding of what mobile computing would look like in the future, but we were working on that project? And you're right, it was like a 20-year project in the making. I mean, the case study that you and I worked on, and Mark as well, I guess I should give credit to him as well. See, he's not here. So how does that make you feel when you look back at these research that was so forward thinking, but it actually worked?
Oh, yeah. Well, simply, I wish I knew what I know today 20 years ago. We could have moved lightning fast, huh?
Well, we needed better connectivity, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We didn't have any connectivity.
We need
didn't have
better cameras.
Wi-Fi was kind of in its infancy,
Right.
and we were barely able to do, one-on-one net meeting type of thing.
Yes.
Which is ancient stuff. And if you think about it, the internet didn't really crank up to about 93 or 94, maybe even a little later than that, with Netscape as the first browser kind of consideration, Net Meeting, which is that first peer-to-peer.
And you're going old school.
All right. That's old stuff, but
Yeah.
that's what it was in the infancy, and the technology
Has changed.
didn't match the ideas. The ideas were there, and we studied. And that's what people do now. That's what our researchers do now.
What research project do you think we're doing today, now, that you think in 10, 20 years from now is going to be like, whoa, I mean, it may look a little different, but it was a no-brainer? Do you have any ideas?
I've sort of soul-searched on that one just a little bit. The Internet of Things, the sensors that exist, and the opportunity to collect the data from sensors and that type of information.
Like what type of data?
Well, you name the data, and I
Safety?
think we can collect it. Safety data,
People?
physiological data, environmental data, hydrological data. I'm not real good with big, long words. As I told you earlier, I'm a 4-letter word guy, so you have to be careful with me. I'm holding on as
Yes.
best I can.
Keep it.
But if you think about the data that we could collect, I think the concept of predictive analytics is a piece that can drive a lot of decision-making in capital projects, decision-making in safety and the predictability of an injury or an accident or some type of event taking place so that you might be able to head that off. Voice activated, voice response. We might even have the opportunity to put a piece of material up, and the material will say, hey, buddy, I'm not the piece that goes here, so you better put me back down and go get it. I think it's that pipe laying over there in the corner. So I think we have an opportunity for maybe our materials to be interactive. I think material science is a phenomenal kind of thing. So the ability to glue pieces together, the ability to fit pieces together like puzzles, to the ability to build on the ground and move up. I think areas with material science, particularly in safety, may be advantageous and forthcoming in the future. I've done a little bit of investigation. I don't know whether it's pie in the sky or
I don't think
mythical
so.
mythology that we might be able to take soft materials, like instead of wearing a hard hat, we wear a soft hat until it has impact, and then it instantaneously hardens up and protects you from impact.
So is the idea that the soft helmet is more comfortable to wear? Okay.
I don't know if that's an actual reality. It would probably show up in sports first. Many of our safety innovations show up in sports first. Many other innovations go to the pet industry. Pet and sports, a lot of money there. Those opportunities exist. Where I would love to see happen is that the United States start to think about construction and the development of capital assets as worthy of cabinet positions. A department of construction, or the Japanese have a ministry of construction. I mean, they fund innovation and research. You get ahead. And ultimately, what we want to do is help improve our labor force, help improve our capital assets, help improve the durability of our projects, make life easier and better for everyone. And,
right.
The objective of construction is to enhance the built environment. Now, that's what we want to do. Every day we want to enhance the built environment.
I mean, it's one of the few things in the industry where you visibly see things every day. You heard it first here, a cabinet member for Ministry of Construction.
Well, probably department in the U.S.
No, I think that's noble. I mean, definitely not a crazy idea. It's just...
We have one for transportation. We have one for energy.
And the built environment is so intertwined with all the other initiatives like environmental quality. The air that we breathe in our buildings are important. The safety of the labor force. So I think that I can see that. Let's talk a little bit about innovation, academia, industry, and some of the gaps that exist between those dynamics. The industry, when you ask them, they value dollars, they value safety, they value schedule and time. But yet, when we talk about technology and the impacts that it could have on all of those categories across the board that I just named, there still seems to be a set of resistance, like, oh, it's too much work. Let's just keep it the way we've been doing it. Why try to change this up? It's worked in the past. What do you say to that?
That's the common resistance that we've got. You have to front that a little bit with the thought that in construction, it works on a small margin. It's not hard to lose that margin just like that. It's not hard to lose that margin in a single defect in a building.
Let's take the pharmaceutical industry, or let's take whatever industry you want to think about. It appears to me that their industry is much more tied with the academia in trying to figure out how to improve in the bottom line or grow the opportunity, right? And that's something that I'm starting to see more of. And I'd like to see more participation with industry, not just like lip service, but like actual resource behind certain research that that 1 in 10 of these research is actually going to hit, but overall it's going to improve the industry in and of itself. So I don't know if you have any thoughts or opinions on that.
I have thoughts on that.
Go ahead.
I truly have thoughts on that, and I've thought about that for a while. I believe every large, maybe not even large, every construction company should have some form of R&D strategy. The larger companies can actually develop R&D departments. Again, we oftentimes come in with a problem, can cost us up all the profits, but just think about turning R&D into a profit center.
Right.
So set that mindset around a little bit. My R&D is not a cost center. My R&D is a profit center. So how do I make R&D generate profits for me? Have you ever heard of a thing called a patent? Now just think about how many problems a construction company, and particularly when you think about specialty contractors, because they do the work, right?
Right.
How many ways they solve a problem, which probably, I don't know, they say 5% of them are patentable, and probably even more than that when you think about it. The development of a new tool, the development of a new approach, the pre-assembly, prefabrication of something that changes it into, from what it was before, into another product fundamentally. So you could take that R&D facility that you think is a cost center, turn it into a profit center. The combat that you have to deal with a little bit is the prescriptive specs that we have sometimes aren't written necessarily around that. So the process that we have in place oftentimes hinders that ability to say, well, I'd like to do it this way instead of that way. So design build helps that a bit, being able to develop that. But design build can, again, can also lose your profit in a heartbeat. There are people and companies that are starting to see some R&D. So I think every organization out there, from the primes right on down till the specialty contractors, should look at R&D facility or an R&D department or an R&D group within their organization. I love Turner's story on Turner Construction and promoted BIM very heavily. For all practical purposes, they thought they owned the development of BIM in our industry. Come to find out, it was their specialty contractors in the trailer at the back. They were working on this BIM kind of thing with some structural steel, and project manager walks in there and says, "What are y'all doing?" "Oh, we're modeling out this project." "Oh, can you do that?" "Oh, absolutely, we can do that." And so all of a sudden now the primes jump onto BIM as a big technological solution. And what we need to do is also take BIM, I think, and run that thing back through a little bit on the workflow and the workforce, not just on a product. We need to have it help develop our processes a little bit, because now you can put so much data in a BIM model. You can put crew sizes, you can put space in there, you can put time in there. You can do a whole lot of manipulation in there, and so now you can have a nice workflow that's an uninterrupted workflow, builds a little bit of backlog if you need it so that you can redirect your forces to that, and it's all tied back into a BIM model that functions in a dynamic sense, and it's not just a visual representation.
I think Virginia Tech does a really good job, and I can't speak for the other institutions, but I think speaking really about the collaboration between academia world with industry, and more needs to exist. But I think Tech does a really good job. I know that HIT has got that innovation center that they're building out in Falls Church. How would you say Tech prepares its students to be ready for these new technologies? How does academia support the industry in getting the next generation of leaders and people out there to be prepared for all that?
Probably not as good as we could, frankly. I'd love to see a course on imagination. Ask your department, I'd like to teach a course on imagination. Can I set that one up? What do you want, an undergraduate course in imagination? Absolutely want an undergraduate course in imagination.
What would it include?
I think it would be driven by the students, particularly on how they want to push their imaginations. So what's the outcome? I don't know exactly what the outcome is. Maybe the outcome is, a company like yours. Or maybe the outcome is an invention. Or maybe the outcome is a change in a process or strategy. But we sometimes constrain ourselves to less of a creative sense. So from a technical standpoint, engineering being one, construction being another, in that we push the technical side with a little bit on the arts and the creativity side.
Well, we're here in the Innovation Center
That's
at
absolutely
Virginia
right.
Tech.
And so that's sponsored by industry, sponsored by the building is being sponsored by industry, and HIT has that. And so the R&D facilities are starting to come alive. They need to be promoted better, and I think you need to push for patents. I'd love to see our faculty work with industry to help in some of these R&D facilities to develop patentable products. It'd be wonderful to see a wall in this building with a patent that industry and academia got together.
I do appreciate how Virginia Tech is extremely supportive of that. Like, obviously, when you look at it, you can say more can be done, but to the extent that they've done the things that they've done here to date, none of these would be possible without the contributions of industry. HIT Hall, the Bishop Favaro,
Absolutely.
all the buildings. I mean, you and I were here when we were in the back office of Burris.
I think the Virginia Tech construction program, and I'll say the building construction program and the Vasilio Construction Engineering and Management program, when you took the undergraduate degree and you came in BC and got a graduate degree, so you got a real good flavor. And the Myers-Lawson School of Construction is a blend of those two with the creation of the Construction Engineering and Management undergraduate degree, which I'm actually very proud of because I helped build that initial curriculum with Mike Forster. He and I sat down and we built that undergraduate curriculum for the construction engineering and management. It's grown significantly
Well,
now.
they didn't have that program. I was a civil engineering major, and I think if they did have that, I probably would have selected that. But so I'm just really happy that they did put that program together.
I think it's a wonderful addition, a truly, truly wonderful addition. The construction engineering management students are a different breed than building construction students. And I've seen it and I've watched it. The risk takers are the BC guys, much more risk takers. But the blend is just phenomenal. The blend of construction engineering management and building construction students is quite wonderful. And I lost my train of thought, which I always kind of do. When I get jazzed about something.
I have a whole series of questions. I don't even know what page I'm supposed to be at. So, all right, well, let's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is this new safety program. There's not that many schools that have that program, but yet safety over a period of, I know the 30 years you've been teaching and all the years that I've been, is progressively gotten more attention. It seems like every year is placed on a higher priority. So tell me a little bit about the program. And
it's in its infancy. I was not instrumental in making it exist. Was created out of construction engineering and management, and I think it was created with some of the stimulus from Ross Myers. Ross Myers is a great advocate for safety.
Right.
Safety is an enduring kind of research endeavor when you think about it, that affects anybody and everybody. Technology is just always fast transitioning, and industry moves much faster than academia in the whole technology game, frankly.
How do you think technology could help safety?
Again, I think in the predictability of incidences, change in materials, and the development of minimizing the number of parts, prefabrication, pre-assembly. So instead of having to put 60 parts together, you just have to put one part together. One of the hesitancies in manufacturing, construction is manufacturing. I'm a true advocate. Construction is manufacturing. Construction should be thought of as manufacturing. Construction should not be thought of as a one-off. It's not a one-off. Concrete's concrete, and we put a lot of concrete in every building that's from a ground up. We repeat a lot of work,
Yes.
so you can't look at it as a one-off. Walls are walls, petitions are petitions. Nobody builds all the pieces and parts of a door. A door comes as one piece.
But it's assembled in a very non-controlled environment oftentimes.
That's the case. But again, the components and parts, when you start to talk about prefabrication, pre-assembly, and modularization, those are built off-site, moved to site, and put into place. So instead of thinking about construction, maybe we ought to think about assembly.
Right.
It's assembly. So now we'll assemble pieces and parts. That's what manufacturing is about, assembling pieces and parts. The resistance sometimes in the field is that the field, like you said, the field is not a controlled environment. The field can't hold the tolerances for manufacturing. So we get in that rub. You can't whack a piece off from the car door that needs to go in, or you can't scab on a piece next to that if you need to do that. And so there is some resistance in the trades that the part that comes doesn't fit. Well, the reason the part doesn't fit, not manufactured wrong, fabricated in the field wrong so that the tolerances weren't kept. So we really too need to think about those things. That's a shift in the way we calibrate ourselves. That's a shift in the way we look at work. Back in I think even up into the 80s, maybe even actually about in the 80s, we taught a course on prefabrication. And you believe that? Back in the 70s and 80s, we taught a course on prefabrication. There's a prefabricated panel right out there, and you've got some stone on it, right?
Yes.
It's
Hokey
quite
stone.
wonderful. That's built in a plant. That's brought here and stuck in place. That's an assembled one part. Somebody put all the parts together, but when it gets here, put it in as one piece.
Yeah.
And so we really kind of need to think about that, and we need to think about our sites as a plant. I like to always try to let students know that your construction plant, when we talk about plant, it's not a plant. I said, yes, it is. It's a plant. Everything's going on there. If you got a batch plant for mortar or a batch plant for concrete, you're mixing all that, shipping it,
Right
placing
there.
it all right there.
Usually those are right there.
Watch the stonemasons around here. They're chipping the dickens out of hokey stone. I don't know how you do that. You have to do that here. There are quite a few other pieces and parts. So when you think about construction, you move it, you handle it, and you put it in position. You want to handle it less? So if you move it to the site, put it in position, you took a handling step out. If you move it to the site, set it down on the ground, then move it into a position, and then handle it and make it up, and move it to another position and hold it, and then move it to another position and put it in place. Cages, prefabricated. Spirals, prefabricated. we really need to think more about that whole concept.
I know you have a passion for technology. I wonder if you have any opinions or thoughts about any game-changing technology that you see. I don't know. A lot of people are talking about AI. Anything that you're seeing?
AI is big. A lot of people are jumping on AI now. Your outfit does estimating, correct?
Yes.
AI can estimate. That's a prediction from past data. You collect what the past data is and you predict what the future data is going to be.
Do you think that it will eliminate estimating labor force, or how do you think that gets integrated?
Well, no, not. Yes, it
Or
would
do you think
diminish the
there'll be
labor
more
force
of the
in that.
estimate?
Fine, let's go to a 30-hour work week, 32-hour work week. I'm all in favor of that. We need to start thinking about a shorter work week, a transition in the workforce and the labor force. So we diminish the estimators and we find more creative opportunities for them. But we will need people who know numbers, know cost, and can feel it out. My GPS tells me to come to this parking garage that I park in every day. If I followed the directions of the GPS, I'd be over there where the buses are. I'd be run over by a bus. So you have to have people who have the cognizance and the awareness to say, yeah, this is right or this is not. But the Internet of Things, I think, is becoming
That's
an
the
area
future
of
trend.
exploration that I think we need to take a look at more seriously in an academic perspective, and we need to work with the industry to help us kind of develop some of the solution sets. More often than not, many of our academics have been in the academic domain for their entire lives. They may have had 6 weeks in the field, an internship, and I'll tell you, PhD people are quick studies. They are the quickest studies I've ever seen in my life. But the industry is essential, and professors of practice, I think, are essential for an alignment with faculty who can bridge the divide between industry and academia. They can be translators. I've worked with some researchers that talk to a group of construction professionals, and they all look at me like, what did they say? I can understand it, and I'll translate for you, but we need to figure out how to bridge that gap. So I appreciate and love the fact that industry really supported Virginia Tech's construction program over the last 30 years. I mean, it's a significant impact. And I love being able to call people up and say, hey, I need this, or can you help me with that?
Well, 31 years until recently, what is your most proud moment?
I have quite a few
All
of
right,
them,
well, let's name
actually.
them.
You know, I think one of the proudest things I am is the development of the internship program. So the internship program was something I put together with 7 contractors from the Northern Virginia. They came down and we set up in Kogel Hall in the lobby over there, and you might have been in one of the first or second years of that thing.
100% placement.
Yeah, so from 6 companies,
Oh my gosh.
placing 18 students, to now we have 2 career fairs a year with 120
Yeah, there was a booklet
companies
back in the day.
each time, and we place any student and every student that wants an internship. And I thank industry for that. Without industry support, that wouldn't happen. That's something I feel proud about making. The other one is I helped to develop this Building Women in Construction, which is the best student organization we have right now, I think. It was a top
That's
tier
great.
group. They self-directed, self-managed, and with just a little bit of guidance, created a wonderful and hopefully enduring and sustaining organization. We have the force of students. We have enough students. I tried to do that, 25 years ago, and when we had like 7 or 8 students trying to get women into the curriculum, and it was really, really tough, and they've been able to sustain themselves. Right. So that organization, I'm really proud of that. And I'm very proud of these guys and the success that they've had. And I'm very proud that they've helped fund innovation research at Virginia Tech. I'm really proud that you guys have done that. You should be proud of that. I'm just an observer. Right?
Well, you played a major part in that, so.
Thank you. When I hear from a student and they tell me maybe what they're doing and how they're doing, they don't brag on being successful, but those are proud moments when I see some of the results, what I would consider results of the education that they receive. Not that I'm a sole purpose of that, but the education they've received and what they have done with that. And so those make me very proud.
Well, every freshman has to take your class.
They most of them did. Most of them did.
30?
I was thinking the other day, I probably taught about 3,000 students. Probably maybe a conservative, could be a
Probably
estimate,
more.
but somewhere in that neighborhood over 30 years. That's only teaching them once. I might have taught some of them 2 or 3 times. Probably some of them thought I never taught them. But anyway, that's a lot of people who have had an exposure to me. And so the success for people, success for you, the success for Mark, the success for people in their careers, in their career development. I'm always excited and I'm proud when I hear about it and I'm proud when I see it.
Well, do you have any lasting remarks you want to share with
Go Hokies.
Go Hokies?
I appreciate the opportunity to talk. We don't do enough of talking one-on-one like that. We kind of oftentimes talk passing. We don't engage as often as we might like with industry professionals to talk about what they're doing, them talking about what we're doing. We need to see that, we need to develop that, and we need to get invitations to academics from industry R&D facilities that are in place. Now, when you go back, I want to make sure you develop a specific R&D approach.
Patent.
And work on, see how you can turn what it is you're working on into those kinds of patents. You see things, you see the trade see things, and you develop things. And the opportunity for industry to spin those off into profitable endeavors, sub-companies or things like that, there's quite a bit of opportunity that we see, and we just let it pass us by because that's just what we do in the day to get the job done. But they can translate into commonality in that they are tools, processes, thoughts that make life easier and better, more effective, more efficient for people. And I'd love to see those happen.
Well, speaking from one of your several thousands of students you've impacted, Mark, who's also going to be joining me later tonight, you truly have been inspirational and impactful in my life, in my journey, in my professional journey, as well as the company that we've built here. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Q. You always get nervous on that. I always want to perform as best I can, and I think we all want to perform as best we can. So I'm always appreciative. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Glad to see it. You've been a success. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you.
Well, this was fun. All right.
You sponsoring this?
We're sponsoring this,
That's good. I think we need to.
Mark is coming up. When's the last time you seen Mark?
I don't know.
When is he going to get that paper done?
You know how Mark is. You know him better than me. He works at his own pace and agenda. Probably drives you nuts.
Hey, we're not here for my therapy today, all right? So we're going to keep it about you. That's what we're here to keep it about.